Hi, my name is McKenzie Cyr, and my capstone topic is sexual abuse in sports. I chose this topic because in today's world, the sexual abuse rates have risen and the numbers have increased rapidly within the sports world. Athletes of all ages are being put at risk, being sexually mistreated in all areas of sports. My focus question was how are sports organizations increasing safety standards to protect young athletes from sexual abuse? In my research, I have concluded that there is not being enough done to protect athletes. From the article, School Sports, Sexual Abuse, and the Utility of School Social Workers by Martel L. Tisley, he states how almost 12 out of every 1,000 students are the victims of some type of sexual abuse at the hands of a coach or another school authority figure. This is due to the lack of safety procedures that exist within sporting organizations. And it's really hard to believe that so few youth protection measures exist within those organizations. The first case study I looked at was one with the organization US Youth and a young girl who was 12 years old. In the article I researched called Criminal Background Checks for Youth Sports Coaches by James Kozlowski, he states how the article focuses on a specific sexual abuse case in which a young girl was sexually abused by her former soccer coach, and he was already a convicted criminal and was still able to coach the young girls. The article focused around whether it was the sporting organization's duty to protect the young girl involved. The case ended up going to court and had to consider whether youth sports organizations have a legal responsibility to conduct criminal background checks of all adults who would have contact with children involved in their programs. US Youth argued against it and stated how it would impose a tremendous burden to mandate criminal background checks for employees and volunteers in defendant programs because the availability of criminal background checks varies among the states. If US Youth had required criminal background checks all along, this case as many other cases would not have happened. The second case study I focused around was the USA gymnastics scandal. One of the biggest sexual abuse scandals that had occurred recently was with the USA gymnastics team and their team doctor, Larry Nassar. Nassar's abuse went unchecked for decades. From the article, Putting Global Fame into Service in the #MeToo movement by Michael Hardy, he states how, in the late 2017, Nassar pleaded guilty to abusing multiple female gymnasts. During the sentencing phase, more than 150 of his victims testified against him. From this one man, the entire sport of gymnastics was impacted as a result. Allie Raisman, who is an Olympian gymnast, stated how, for this sport to go on, we need to demand real change, and we need to be willing to fight for it. It's clear now that if we leave it up to these organizations, history is likely to repeat itself, proving that clearly sporting organizations need to change. Student athletes are a very vulnerable population when it comes to the topic of sexual abuse. From the article, School Sports, Sexual Abuse, and the Utility of School Social Workers by Martel L. Tisley, he states how out of fear, guilt, and being afraid of the consequences, victims are reluctant to disclose sexual abuse or harassment when the perpetrator is a coach. This can lead victims to not report the abuse, and the perpetrator can often go unpunished. Victims often feel powerless because they feel as though they are trapped. Student athletes who are victims of this abuse go through low self-esteem, depression, and strong feelings of shame or guilt. And it has also been found that in the sporting culture of certain sports, athletes may normalize these behaviors and not perceive these behaviors of sexual abuse wrong, which is also very damaging. So in order to decrease the cases of sexual abuse within the sports world, as a society, we need to mandate criminal background checks for all sporting organizations across the country, create more awareness for coaches, and as well as awareness for parents. By requiring criminal background checks across all sporting organizations nationwide, cases like the two previously mentioned could have easily been prevented. This also goes along with creating awareness for coaches. When I talked to my mentor, who is my figure skating coach, Debbie Adams, she told me about the new safe sport training she had to complete in order to continue coaching figure skating. To understand more about this in my topic, I did the safe sport training myself and found that we are moving in the right direction in the sport of figure skating, but other organizations such as soccer and gymnastics need to be doing the same thing. Lastly, by getting parents more involved with the issue, it can also decrease the number of victims. In the US Youth case mentioned with the young girl and her soccer coach, the young girl parents were not involved at the time of the abuse and had no idea what was going on. And by involving parents through spreading awareness, they will be more informed, which can also decrease the numbers. The main takeaways I found within my research for this project were the impact that it has in society, the number of athletes who are abused, and the criminal background checks. Sexual abuse leaves a very clear, harmful impact on each victim involved, and sporting organizations need to stop dismissing it. I also found the number of athletes who were abused very shocking because just from the USA gymnastics scandal, more than 150 girls alone were sexually abused in just that one case. And lastly, criminal background checks are one of the best solutions to preventing more cases of sexual abuse by emphasizing the importance of criminal background checks for coaches. Too many times have organizations dismissed the need for these checks as well as the dangers of it, as seen in both the case studies mentioned. I found that criminal background checks would be a very effective way to decrease the number of sexual abuse cases if implemented in more sporting organizations nationwide. Ultimately, the protection of athletes requires collaboration within the sporting organizations. As proven in my research, sexual abuse in sports needs to be stopped before the numbers of victims increase, and more needs to be done in order to do so. Thank you.
Okay, so does anybody have any questions?
That was really good.
That was really good. You covered a lot. You really did.
That was really good.
And I liked how you did the takeaways and you came up with a solution. And you wrote some of your personal experience with figure skating and how you actually took a look at, the training that they're now going through.
Yeah.
Do you think that the training, what is it called?
Safe
sport. Do you think that it's enough?
I think it's definitely like a start, but I think there definitely needs to be more done because I clearly like organizations like the soccer one and like the gymnastics one, they didn't have them before, and I don't know like if they have done anything like recently about it, but I know that there wasn't anything before. So
what are some of the things that are included in the safe sport training? Because I have no knowledge of that, so that's why I'm curious.
When I did it, it was all online, and like they would give you like scenarios and like what you would do in like those scenarios, and then you had to take like a few like multiple choice tests and stuff about like those scenarios and like what would be the best solution to preventing that from happening and just stuff like that. And I think that coaches have to do like more, but since I'm not a coach, I definitely have to do that much. But
right, but at least you got that's cool that you took that step and then you saw at least some of what is being offered. Nice.
Thank you.
Nice job.